Hi, my name is Dan Shafer, and I'm going to be going through the Cellopolis lesson with you. And this is a lesson that I have used in different levels of science, both for middle grades and for high school science, to learn the parts of the cell. I'm using a Promethean active board behind me that's hooked up to an iMac computer. And on that computer, I'm running QuickTime. It's just QuickTime Player. And it is a new screen recording. So what you'll see is you'll see me teaching, and then you'll hear my voice, but you may just see the screen for other parts of this recording. So at the beginning of the class, I would hand out the assignment titled Cellopolis, and this is in the folder that is linked to the assignment in your Blackboard account. Okay, again, Cellopolis, and this is basically the cell parts that I'm going to go over. There's 13 different parts for this first day of the lesson. I use this as the introductory lesson to the parts of the cell. Now, a lot of students have seen the parts of the cell already. They've seen the cell membrane, the nucleus, and they know what they are and what they do. They've seen some other things as well. But this tool, Cellopolis, is a way that students can really focus in and learn not only what their names are, but what they do, and then remember them, I've found, much better than in other ways. So as I use the active board, I'm going to go ahead and go through this lesson. Keep in mind that I'm doing this for you and that I do not actually have a class of students in front of me. So the questioning and the discussion that goes on during the lesson is actually much longer than what you're going to see here today. This is the shortened version that is just the filling out and building of the Cellopolis. So what I have them do is I would first tell students to turn their sheet over to the back side. So they're not even looking at the different names that are here. They're actually just looking at the blank piece of paper, and they're going to be drawing what I'm drawing up on the board. So you can see here that the Promethean board actually allows me to choose some different colors, and as I start here, I'm just going through this as a checklist for myself to make sure that I hit everything that they're going to go through. And what I start with is to have students draw everything that I'm going to draw on the board today. So if it's on the board, you need to draw what I have on your sheet of paper. As we go through this, I want you to think about questions you have as to what you see if you don't understand what I'm drawing. So we're going to start by drawing a road across the top of this page here. And you can see that this road has exit ramps. And those exit ramps are actually linked to the outside of this city. And we're going to go ahead and make those exit ramps fit in with the entire city. So you can see here's my road. And I know that maybe yours looks a lot better than mine because I'm not the best artist and you're all a lot better than me, but I think you can get the picture of what you see here. So you can even have your dashed line to show that you have your exit ramps and on-ramps. And you can see that there's a wall around the city. So there's really only a couple ways into the city here. Okay, kind of take a look at that. Does everybody have that drawn now? And when you do have that drawn, you want to make sure that you add some labels. So for example, you would want to write that these right here that are the exit ramps. So I have an exit ramp on one side and an exit ramp on the other side. And what those are pores in the membrane. The way that things go into and out of the cell through this cell membrane. Now you'll notice that in my cell, we don't have a cell wall, we only have a cell membrane. And that's important because that gives us a hint as to what kind of cell we're looking at. So I'm going to go ahead and label this. I'm just going to write exit ramps here in the middle. And you should label that on your own paper as well. Move out of the way. So exit ramp here, and there's an exit ramp here. Okay. The next thing we notice is that we've got this road traveling along outside of our cell, and what that road is called the BV highway. What do you think the BV highway is? That's right. The BV highway is the blood vessel, and the blood vessel is how things get to our cell. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to label this. I'm going to make mine a little bit smaller so you can see that this is the BV highway. Make sure you've labeled your BB highway, and the label doesn't have to be exactly where mine is, but you do need to be able to tell what the highway is and where it is on your sheet of paper. The next thing I'm going to go to label are the city limits. Now you see that we drew this line all the way around the city. This is the city of Cellopolis, so make sure that you have a sign that people can see as they come to your city. They want to know that they're there. You just label that city limits. Because we're on the outside edge of our entire city here, except again for our exit ramps or on-ramps that allow things into and out of the cell. Now if you're watching the video, I'll take a moment to say that there is not a specific order that you have to go through every single item. This is the basic format that I start with. And then from here, anything goes in terms of student input or what they do already know or don't already know. So we're going to start with some big things and then we'll get a little bit smaller. The other thing that you can do with the Promethean board and the software on my computer or your computer is to change the different colors of things. And if I was teaching this to a class of students in high school or middle school, I'm going to give them colored pencils so they can do different colors, and it helps them figure out some differences between the cell parts. So we've gone through the BB highway, exit ramps, and city limits to kind of get the overall picture of where we're at. Now we can go through some specific details of the cell. And again, keep in mind that I'm going really fast, and this would be much slower in a classroom. This would probably take me most of a 50-minute period if I was doing this normally. The next item that we're going to add as we go down the list, and again, there's just numbers across the top of the page that I'm following, so and you wouldn't have to do that necessarily. But I'm going to do number 4, the NU City Council Chamber. I'm going to put that in red because we're Go Big Red here in Nebraska, and that's a very important piece. So as I draw this here, this is a very important building. Now I'm not a good artist. Most of you are better than me. I know, but I'm going to go ahead and put a skylight in my building. This is very, very cool. And a little tiny door there. There's my door. And this is the new City Council Chamber, or the NU Council Chamber. Keep in mind that as the rest of the students are drawing, they don't want to draw it super big because they want to be able to add different cell organelles over the next couple days if you decide to do that for a follow-up lesson. Now you'll notice that this new City Council Chamber is a very impressive building, and there are some very impressive people in there. In fact, this is so important that these people actually started working on the city before the City Council Chamber was even formed. Why is that so important? Well, it's actually a really sad story. And the sad story is about Big Fat Mama Donna and her friends. See, Mama Donna is so big and so fat that when they finished building these city council chambers, she realized that her and her friends, after sitting there and eating lobster and steak and all these amazing foods that they were getting while they worked for the city, is that they were stuck. In fact, Big Fat Mama Donna and her big fat friends were all so big that they are unable to leave this city council chamber unless we were to break down those walls. Let's add Mama Donna and her friends. So we've got capital D-O-N-N-A. And you'll notice that her name is very important. And the way you spell it is very important because we're going to capitalize the first D, the first N, and the letter A. Big Fat Mama Donna represents DNA. And you want to add some of her friends because she's not by herself. We're going to add Donald. And even a good friend of mine, Donatello. And all these strands of DNA or friends, Donna, Donald, and Donatello, they're all stuck in the nucleus, the new council chambers. So how are these guys going to get their message to the rest of the cell? How does the cell know how much energy it needs or how much protein it should produce? How does this cell know what it needs for roads and other systems? Well, these guys, since they're stuck, need a way to get their message out, and that message is going to get out by sending a letter. So we're going to send that letter through our friends, and our friends are people like Rena. I'm going to draw Rena driving a car over here. There's a pretty sweet car. And this is capital R, E, capital N, capital A, Rena. You can add her good friend Rona. Capital R, lowercase o, N, A, Rona. And of course, what do these represent? That's right, R and A. Rena, Rona, Ronald, Ronatello, all these cool people are capital R, capital N, capital A, and that's RNA. And these are forms of a messenger RNA because they can take the message from Big Fat Mama Don and her big fat friends out to the rest of this cell. And remember, they're big, they're stuck, but these guys, these skinny little RNA molecules are able to move freely throughout this cell in the cytoplasm. Now these guys are stuck, those can go, but where are they going to go? What message do they have? So let's add a few things. The first thing we want to start with is a big power plant. Now my power plants are kind of funny looking, I know, but I want to make sure that you know what we're doing here. So we've got a big building, we've got a little bit of smoke coming out of there because we are a big coal mighty power plant. So this is the M-I-T-E, mighty power plant. And of course, as soon as you see the big MIT, you know that this is the mitochondria, the power producing part of the cell, the mighty power plant. And the mighty power plant needs to know how much energy it's going to how much energy it's going to make. But at the same time, it can't do it by itself. It needs something. Well, it needs something to come down this highway. So let's go ahead and head up to the highway. And we're going to add a fancy vehicle, a big truck. And this big truck is hauling coal. C-H-O-A-L. So it's really coal. We know the H is silent, but this chol, or C-H-O, is carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, a basic building block of life. This is the sugar that is going to come in here. This sugar is going to be burned as it travels in all the way down to the mitochondria. And what comes out is energy, and this energy is in the form of ATP. So we're just going to write ATP. That is our energy that comes out of our coal-fired power plant, that mighty power plant. The next one we want to add, of course, is we need a place for people to work. We're going to add a big building and draw some fancy windows in there, let them see out. You can have a fire escape if you want. There's people working in here. And this is the Acme RIB factory. And of course, you know that RIB stands for the ribosome. The ribosome or rib factory is what is producing professional ready-made objects. All the things you need for this cell to function. So here we go. We've got P ROs coming out there. Professional ready-made objects. And of course, you know that professional ready-made objects are all the proteins that the rib factory or ribosome is going to make. Now, the ribosome doesn't do this, it can't do this on its own. It can't make professional ready-made objects on its own. In fact, it needs something also to travel down that BB highway. So let's go ahead up here and add another vehicle. And this vehicle, this truck carrying in the, this truck carrying in the things we need. Try one more. There we go. There's my big truck. Okay, and this truck is bringing in the raw materials that it needs. And we're going to spell this very specially. We're going to put this as lowercase r, capital A-W, and then lowercase m, capital A, lowercase e, am I spelling this wrong? E-T, So we're going to add another truck. And this truck is also traveling down our BV highway. And here's our truck carrying the raw materials. That is R, capital A, W, M, capital A, T-E-R-I-A-L-S. Raw materials. And the raw materials are the amino acids, that is the building blocks of the professional ready-made objects or proteins. So we've got all these raw materials coming in, and they're going to travel through these pores in the membrane and head to the RIB factory. The factory will take those raw materials in, and they're going to in turn make professional ready-made objects. Now these professional ready-made objects again are the proteins that your body needs. Let's add a few other things here, because as we get all this built, we need to add some protection to some different places. So of course, we want to add protection to our new council chambers. And I'm going to draw a dashed line around here. And this dashed line shows that there are pores in the nuclear membrane, that these new and U chamber walls. Where you can see that there's an added layer of protection around the nucleus, where Big Fat Mama Donna and her friends live. So as you look here for a minute, you've got a few things in place. You should have 13 different labels. I want everyone to check theirs, make sure they have all 13. What? There's only 12? Well, do you know why that is? That's because all is not well in the city of Cellopolis. Something very bad has happened, and I saved it till the end because I'm extremely scared to talk about what's about to occur. Now, I'm going to add one more piece, and this is so sad and scary because over here in the corner, little did we know that this was going on, because we got a big problem with Vic, the terrorist. And Vic has quietly snuck his way into our happy city. Now, Vic is an extremely sneaky terrorist. Vic is going to come into our city, and he's going to come in so sneakily that we won't even recognize him. For example, this looks a lot like this, except this is V-E-R-O-N-A, Verona. And Verona is a viral RNA. A virus, Vic, has come into our city, and he is going to trick this cell into making more copies of himself instead of producing things like the energy we need or even the professional ready-made objects. So this cell is going to make copies of Vic. It turns out that he's so sneaky that he can also head into the nucleus, where you may have seen this amazing artist. She's a beautiful singer, Madonna. She comes here quite often to this city, very sneaky. And Madonna stands for viral DNA, and she's incredibly dangerous because she too is going to convince this city to make more copies of herself. In the end, this city will die if Vic has infiltrated like you've seen here. That's the end of the lesson that I have for you. It feels a little awkward teaching in front of an empty class, and I'm not sure exactly how you will take this lesson, but the next step for you is to critique what I've done, critique what you've seen. You can talk about in your critique how you would want to do this. You could do this on the overhead, you could do this on the whiteboard. Again, you don't have to have the Promethean, but it is important, I think, that you have all students draw these different parts so they can see what things are. And then there is in the folder for assignment 6 a quiz that I would give the students the next day to see if they remember what we've gone over. And it also has a part on that assignment that you could choose to use or not, in which you would carry this a step further and add to the city. All I have for now. If you have other thoughts or questions, make sure you include that in your critique. Thanks so much.